abuse or segregation. Da 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 da. Inclusive education leads to cooperation. Da 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 da.
They want to do several things that will make it much harder for young people to access inclusive education.
I came along to this march because I believe in inclusion, and I think inclusion is a way forward for all our children.
I just want to have our voices heard, for them to listen to us. I want an education system that is going to cater for everyone's needs and stop the discrimination and segregation that's been going on.
I want inclusive education for all children, and I see the government as undermining that right now in a very, very serious way.
The big worries is that they'll be shunted into special schools, that academies will be formed which won't accept any of our children because they have special needs.
The government is ruining the lives of disabled people. Going back 40 years to the age of special schools. What do they want? Disabled people not to be alive in society.
What would you like them to do?
Fuck down the special schools. Get more resources in the mainstream. And get disabled people for education they deserve.
I'm here supporting the demands of the Reverse the Bias campaign and for David Cameron to recognise that he and his government are no longer in tune with reality, with disabled people, parents, families, professionals, all the rest of the world.
What are the big worries at the moment about this government?
I think that they will turn the clock back for disabled people in education 20 or 30 years. Disabled people will no longer be part of an inclusive education system. We will all be pushed into segregated education forevermore. That's my big fear. The reality is that there is a growing movement against that. And here we all are today. But we're all over the world. We're not just in the UK.
The idea that they're actually saying that they need to reverse the bias towards inclusion and step up the segregated schools because that's what parents want is really divisive, because actually the parents are having to go to special schools as a last resort because the capacity of mainstream schools hasn't been developed enough yet to make sure that all parents who want inclusive education can get it. So we were just at the beginning of the push towards inclusion, which is mandated actually in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Disabled People, and suddenly they're going to turn the whole clock back.
Strengthen the rights that children have already got towards inclusive education, make all the conditions on the statement mandatory, train teachers properly, because most disabled children are already in mainstream. You know, every classroom has a child with some kind of special needs, and it's still not part of mandatory teacher training. We'd like to see that changed. We'd like to see inclusion seen as a good thing. We'd like disabled people to be listened to on this issue. We want progress made, really, rather than pushing us backwards.
Okay, off we go. Hey, hey. It's been a lively protest. Celebration, first of all, of our right to be as disabled people and be included in our society, to be included in our schools. We find it appalling that this government has chosen to roll the legislation back. They slip it in their green paper and say we're going to reverse the legislation that was brought in 2001, which meant that people had a real choice of going to inclusive schools. And they're going to try and bring back in that if it's too expensive or the school is not appropriate, they will no longer have to try and meet the child's needs, and the parents will be pushed more and more to put their children in separate schools. The reason why that's so dangerous at the moment is this government are committed, and Mr Gove in particular is committed, to privatising the entire education system and pushing it really into academies and free schools. And if they can push us out and only keep those with the most moderate impairments in mainstream schools, they'll be much easier to get private business to invest in. So this is not a separate thing from the main agenda that the government have got of privatisation of education. We, as disabled people, happen to be here, and we happen to be included. We happen to have rights under the UN Convention to be included in mainstream schools, and that is why we're here today. We are, if you like, the inconvenient truth that we exist, we're not going away, and we demand the right to be included.
Disabled people have been saying for years and years and years that we do not want to go to segregated schools, we don't want to live in homes, we don't want to be in institutions, locked hospitals. This is not the life that we want. We've never asked for these things. They've always been imposed on us. So that needs to be acknowledged, that this is being done against our will. There's masses of research everywhere, in every country in the world, that where inclusion is done properly, it works. It works much better. It is the way forward.
We would like everybody to write to their MPs, and we call on all parents and all right-minded people to support our campaign against the bias towards segregation which this government is pushing forward.